Now, I'd like to take this to a slightly more personal level. Have you ever tried to make change in your own life? Even something as seemingly simple as changing diet or exercise habits. How hard was that? You know, what I find is that typically people can make change for a short period of time and they're successful, but then what happens is they tend to fall back into old habits in that comfort zone. Why do you think gym memberships spike every year in January with New Year's resolutions, and by the spring they've dropped again, right? Sometimes what has to happen is that the pain of staying the same or the consequences of staying where we are have to outweigh the discomfort of change. But as human beings, why do we have such difficulty making change? What is that about? Well, we have clicker. There we go, okay. When we go through a change or a transition, we start at a place that we'll call the endings, where we're letting go of something. We move forward towards what we call new beginnings, where we're going to have the new way of being. And in that middle space, that's where everything's just really uncomfortable. We don't yet know how things work. We're breaking old habits and patterns. What are the rules here? What's my role? How does everything operate? And in that confused space that we call the neutral zone or the transition zone, that's where performance tends to drop. Sounds completely logical, right? All right. But remember I said every person has emotions and stories. Let's look at what happens when we factor that into it. Now, I don't know about you, but this feels a lot more like what I've experienced when leading change in business. A convoluted mess of emotions with people all over the place. And we're expected to lead people through this chaos? It's no wonder change is hard. Let's try to put the two together into something that looks a little bit more manageable. So we've got a blend of the emotional change curve and the transition model. And there are a couple of things to point out here. One is that it's not linear. People don't start at point A and go straight to point B, if only. People can move back and forth. And just to keep things interesting, pop up anywhere on that curve at any given time. Nothing like a bit of unexpected surprise. Now, the second thing is that every person moves through at their own pace. So some people will zip right over to the right into that excitement and engaged stage. Others will make a bit of progress, slip back a bit before going forward again. And you may have some that stay in that anger category and never move. Now, sometimes, even a person who's very good with change might behave a bit differently given a certain situation. And I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm typically known personally and professionally as a change agent. I do it in my life and I do it in my work. And I am really comfortable with change. I'm one of those people who goes after change. But at the moment, I'm learning to drive in London. I've been driving for 35 years in America and I'm really comfortable. But here, everything is reversed, literally. And I can tell you, when I failed my theory exam the first time, I was firmly in that anger category for several days. And then when I passed it, I finally started moving on. But me, a change agent, I'm still nowhere near excited or engaged. I hate this process. So even for someone who's very well versed in change, I'm showing up differently on this curve because of this situation. Now, the last thing we'll talk about is that as change leaders, we typically have more information than most people, or at the very least, we hear about it earlier in the process. So we've had time to go through this process ourselves. And typically, we are further along in the curve than those people that we're telling about the change. And we need to bear that in mind. Now, it's our responsibility to have a sense of where people are on this curve and to provide them with the information and support to help them move forward. Sounds a lot easier than it really is, doesn't it?